Ralph, Janet, it's great to talk to you again.
Hey, Robert.
For folks that don't know, you are both longtime AAMI members, volunteers, contributors, supporters, board members. I don't know what else I could say. Every adjective that's positive that's associated with AAMI.
Exhibitors.
There you go. There you go. So, but now you're both in a new way supporting specifically the AAMI Foundation. So we wanted to sit down today and talk a little bit about the AAMI Foundation and let folks know what's going on, because we're really focused on raising awareness, right, of what's going on there and expanding the impact of the foundation. So, Janet, let me start with you. Folks need to know, what is the AAMI Foundation?
That's a really good question, Robert, because a lot of people, and in fact, many long-term AAMI volunteers and members aren't aware of the foundation. So it's a piece of AAMI. AAMI is the only member for the AAMI Foundation, and it was created quite a few years ago in the late 1960s to help fund. Now, what we're talking about is the future of HTM. That wasn't the tagline back then, but it certainly is now. And the AAMI Foundation secures funds from donors and supporters and then distributes those funds for educational scholarships, for honors awards for people who have done really good things for AAMI and for the industry in general. And more recently, AAMI also supports research initiatives. Okay. So it's been in existence for a long period of time. It's evolved over time, and now we're hoping with Ralph and our efforts and the support of AAMI leadership that we can do even more with the foundation as far as providing those funds and those recognitions, and then also to be able to grow the receipt of those funds and
right.
To be able to support this mission.
Right. So, and Ralph, the AAMI Foundation supports all our stakeholders, right?
It does, yes, absolutely. So we have a variety of funds that are focused on different stakeholder groups, and there's also the opportunity, for instance, there's the Mary Logan Fund, which funds research, and really that has a very broad mission. But we also have the Kilmer Fund, which is oriented toward sterilization, sterility assurance, and sterility, and it funds both research grants as well as scholarships. Mm-hmm. And that one spans both hospital or healthcare sterilization and industrial sterilization. So all three of our stakeholder groups, major stakeholder groups, HTM, hospital sterile or healthcare sterilization, facility sterilization, and industrial sterilization are covered by the foundation.
Fantastic.
Yep.
And I know we've, just to be very clear with folks, Janet, we've got sort of a three-noun descriptor of the foundation. So what are those three buckets again?
So we focus on scholarships, research, and honors. And the honors aspect is recognizing those people who have made significant contributions, not only to AAMI, but ultimately to patient safety.
Right. Got it. So in the honors area, coverage across all of our stakeholder groups.
Yep.
The scholarship area also the same, it sounds like.
It does, yep.
And then the other one was?
Research.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about research. What kinds of things have we been funding in terms of research? And even more importantly, what kinds of things would we like to be funding in terms of research?
Yeah, I mean, part of what Jan and I have been doing, and I'll answer your question in a second, but is to get to engage with current stakeholders and identify existing and then new opportunities as well, so going forward. But so I'll give an example. Last year, the Logan Fund, it funded a study by ECRI on protective attire, PPE. Mm-hmm. And ECRI had submitted to do a in-depth study on strike-through, which is there's all the test methods, and I'm involved with PPE. You have been too, but all the test methods that we use to make sure that the PPE is working properly is like splash and spray. Well, strike through, particularly in decontam when you're leaning up against a sink, is a very significant factor, and yet it's not being tested for when we're validating PPE. So that's a great example. And so what this, we're looking here, the AAMI Foundation is helping fund a gap that's in the standards and in the requirements. And by doing that is going to make things better, and particularly protecting the healthcare worker. So that's one of the great examples. And we could go on down the list, but I think after coming out of COVID, we all understand the importance of PPE a little more than maybe we did before going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's about gaps, right?
Well, I'll add to that, too, is that we very often find areas where if we're working in a standard or even a publication or a white paper recommendation. There's areas where there's not good data to support a recommendation.
Right.
So that's really what we're focused on. We want to identify those areas more cleanly, right? Through our stakeholder groups and the kinds of activities that AAMI does is where are there gaps in data that we could help potentially fund the research that would then investigate and be able to provide, conclusion and a recommendation of what to do in those situations.
Which can then feed our voluntary consensus document.
It can go all sorts of ways. And most of the research, the deliverable out of the research is a peer-reviewed publication, right? Which is what we need in order to be referenced for so many different documents and actually eventually end up as a practice or a test method or some recommendation and for guidance and, patient care.
Right. Yeah. So I know we're looking to expand on the number of things that we fund, things that we support. So how do people bring ideas in? We're talking about AAMI working much more closely, AAMI, the mainline organization, whatever the right term is, the foundation working much more closely together. So our stakeholders that are like our VP of HTM, VP of sterilization, VP of industry, maybe working with their stakeholders to bring ideas forward. But what are the other, can people reach out to the two of you? What are other avenues for getting ideas in? Is there an
absolutely.
application process? What's the...
Well, as far as research grant, there is a structure in place for both the Logan Fund and also the Kilmer Fund, although we are going to look at, I would say, increasing the cadence so that we can do more with those funds.
Right now it's annual?
It's once a year right now, and there's a lot of activity that's going on across the industry where, if you wait a year, well, that may be too long, particularly in informed standards development and improved patient care. And also, you've got the fire's hot, the skillet is hot. Let's see if we can do something about that. But so that's the current cadence is once a year. But Jan and I are available 365 days a year.
No weekends, no holidays. Come on now.
Quite 365, 24/7. I don't think I went in for that. But one thing you will be seeing is that we will be, when we have a call for research proposals, is that there'll be suggested topic areas that then will align with the areas that AAMI focuses on. So whether it be sterilization, whether it be industrial medical device, practices, manufacturing, or whether it would be HTM focused.
Right. And we do occasionally get submissions that aren't appropriate. Because these funds do have charters, they're focused at, we should stress again, research. This is about research that advances the science in either, and that could be regulatory science, it could be sterility assurance, it could be
manufacturing, test methods, quality. Exactly. There's just all sorts.
But it does have to be that.
It has to be that, and and it has to be non-commercial, like all good
of course.
Research is, and that's where AAMI Foundation can serve as that neutral party. So a donor could be a company, for example, or a medical device manufacturer, help fund the foundation, and then the foundation is able to fund that research that then helps to be able to fill that gap in information or data.
Yeah, just to give an example, that was in the past, there was an effort that went through the foundation for a study on the small bore connectors, and there's issues with the wrong things being connected to the wrong outlook or source, and then that can add to, obviously it could lead to very bad patient outcomes. Well, exactly as Janet said, this was a few manufacturers that got together and they said, we need to make things better. We need a study that's going to underlie the standard that we're working on, which is an ISO standard. And they came to the foundation and said, well, we've got these sources of fund, but we want to take the commercial out of it. This is to make everything better raise the practice within the industry and make things better for the patient. And that's exactly what they did. Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah. So that's a good call out to those committee chairs that are working.
Yeah.
Please think of the foundation. If you've got a problem that's not solved, where the data is just not there, bring it to me, bring it to you guys, bring it to one of our vertical leads. We'll get that under consideration. So
yeah, absolutely.
So what about on the support side? Let's talk a little bit about that, because we're supported both by individual donors, right, and organizational donors. Let's start individual donors. I think it's fairly straightforward. We had an event recently, AAMI Exchange, and we had a lot of individual donors literally throwing, bills in the jar and stuff like that, and a QR code. And folks can go to the website, and there's a place where you can go and make a donation on the AAMI Foundation site on AAMI.org. But so I think that's fairly straightforward.
Well, and it's fair to say that the majority of AAMI members have no idea that the AAMI Foundation exists.
True, right.
Right? So we aim to change that. And one of the first steps that we did was at AAMI Exchange for the first time to offer individual donors during the exchange, during the exhibit hall hours at the AAMI booth to contribute. We had a matching program, which was really nicely received, and we'll continue to do that. We also, because AAMI members support the cause of AAMI, right? They support the mission of AAMI. And the fact that you as an individual member can help support, the future, and for example, in scholarships, or you can individually help support these research initiatives, or you can individually help award honor awards to people who have done some really, really positive things in the industry and for AAMI over the years. It gives you a sense of personal satisfaction. I'm an individual personal supporter. Can you see my pin right here,
Got your
Robert?
pin
That
on?
means
Yep,
that
I
have.
see that.
And
I
there's
see it.
different
Very
levels,
pretty pin.
different levels of pins depending on the amount that you actually,
Right.
contribute. And it's gratifying for an individual to support the area and the organization that's important to them, and for many
And they
people
can make
career
a
in.
general donation, right? Or
Absolutely.
folks could, if they wanted to support
So it makes
the Miller scholarships or something,
can
they could
direct it towards
specify
something.
whatever they wanted to go to.
Yeah,
So there's some
absolutely.
nuances.
And I will add one point, new doing this, so I have joined an association of professional fundraisers, and I did attend a half-day session, and one of the speakers shared, I don't think this will apply to the foundation, but overall, 70+% of donations come from individuals, and less than 10% come from corporate donors.
Interesting.
I don't think that's going to be our mix, but I think we have an opportunity to increase the mix.
Well, we have over 10,000 members, so even a small donation from
Yep.
a significant number would make a
Yep.
huge difference. And I have been blown away by this community over the last 5 years in terms of the spirit of the community and the idea of giving back, whether it's developing the next generation
Absolutely.
of standards developers or HTM professionals or sterilization professionals. So I have no doubt that once people become aware of the foundation, they will support it and wear that pin with pride. So there were details we needed to understand about the individual side, and they're very important. But let's talk about corporate giving. So is there anything folks that work for an organization that might want to support the AAMI Foundation need to know?
Well, I have had an opportunity to, including the last couple of days, but prior to this, talk to a number of our significant corporate donors and those that are not currently donors that we hope to make donors, and absolutely they see value. They bringing talent on. Every industry is struggling with developing the next generation, and that's true in our industry for all of our stakeholders. I mean, you hear from all of it. So that's opportunities and an incentive for the corporate donors to participate. Obviously, if there's a need for, I talked about the small bore connectors, there's plenty of opportunities, non-commercial research that helps everybody and makes things better, and ultimately serves the patient, and improves patient care. So I think those are a couple of the levers that are of real interest to corporate donors.
Yeah, and they can give through the website, obviously.
We have, AAMIfoundation.org, very easy. You go to the main AAMI.org page. There's a foundation tab or icon up on the top. You click on that, and it's very simple with a QR code. You can donate that way. For corporate donors, they normally need to go through a process, right? And
Right.
invoice and things like
Right.
that.
Well, and
Individual
that's
donors.
something you can support if they
Absolutely, we do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is for individual donors and for corporate donors, it is tax deductible.
Okay,
right? And
good to
so
know.
that's an important thing. The more you give, the more you can deduct. That's the positive piece of that.
Right.
But yeah, it's very, very simple to do that. We are looking, so AAMI is going to be working, beginning probably over the next year of updating their website. In fact, really revamping their website again. And so we're looking to add additional features onto the AAMI Foundation giving site that automate things, make it easy for people, very easy for people to donate money to us.
Right. And so let me ask you this. I know the answer, but if somebody really wanted to move the needle, because we have a number of funds that are named after significant folks in the industry, either inside of AAMI or just from industry outside of AAMI. If someone really wanted to move the needle and said, I see a need, there's for research in this area, for scholarships for these kinds of individuals, as long as it's within the AAMI mission, safe and effective healthcare technology, You take a big check, right?
Well,
Somebody
absolutely.
wanted to come and establish a new fund?
Actually, I mean, we have an example that just occurred. So Mike
Really?
Scholla, who's a giant in our industry, and
right.
recently passed and well loved and respected, a couple of AAMI members, Beacon Converters, DuPont Medical Packaging, put forward significant funds to support, it's actually an existing AAMI program, but training program on sterility assurance oriented toward packaging, and that was Mike's forte.
his thing, yeah.
And so, that's a great example of what's possible, and we have had other
So now there's
conversations.
a Mike
along
Scholla
those
fund
lines.
because
the
they
Mike
wanted
Scholla
to
fund,
make that happen.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then other individuals can now contribute to that fund. They were sort of the
They
founding.
can, yeah. Or
Okay.
you know, if someone sees a specific need, say it's in a certain part of the world, it's a certain type of program, we very much are plan, not just open to plan, right, to be able to expand what we are able to fund.
Right.
And that could be within the existing programs. It could be something that's new. We're very open to that. And one thing that's kind of curious about the AAMI Foundation is the majority of those different funds, right, or what we award, whether it's a scholarship or an honor or research, they're attached to somebody's name.
Right.
Right? And so it does provide that recognition. It provides a legacy for that person or that great, contributor to
Right.
AAMI, contributor to healthcare technology management. It's a way to make that live on and create a legacy for that individual. And we plan to do more of that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything I haven't thought to ask you want to share with people about the foundation?
I would just simply say is that everyone can be part of the foundation by donating, by making recommendations to people who could potentially be scholarship applicants or
Yeah.
research applicants or award winners. It's not just that, yes, donate money, be part on the other side of it where we're for the individuals that benefit from the funds.
Right.
It's just as important. Ideally, be on both sides, right? Help promoting the foundation so that we're able to, reward as many people as possible with the funding that we provide, but then also be part of a supporter and contributor yourself.
Yeah, well said. And Jan and I have talked about this quite a lot. We really think where you start is identifying where these gaps are, the needs are. And then, as you said, then we find the funds, and of course, it very likely could come from the person that comes up with the idea, right? But it doesn't have to be. And as you say too, we're encouraging AAMI stakeholders. Hey, maybe it's not you, but maybe somebody in academia that's doing research that could really help the industry. So,
Right.
yep.
Fantastic. Well, let's leave it there. Ralph, Janet, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, we got to show you the hat.
Oh, the hat. Oh, hold up the hats.
Oh, I have to
hold
hold
up the
up
hats.
the
Fantastic.
Can't wear the hat with the headphones
No,
on.
it's
That's
very
why we don't
awkward.
have it
So,
on, but yeah.
and how does someone get a hat? They come to an AAMI event, and we're
They
going
should
to have
come
them at
to
those.
an AAMI
There's
event.
a-
And then the other thing is the pins. Once you donate, you will be provided a pin based on the level of your support that you're providing into AAMI, and that's automatic.
All right, fantastic.
yep.
Well, Ralph, thank you. Janet,
yeah,
thank you. Look
yeah.
forward to
Robert.
working
Thank
with
you,
you in the
Robert.
coming years, and Foundation's going to do great work.
I believe it is.
We're
Thank you.
very optimistic. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.